Good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. I'm feeling a little bit better than I was at 5:45 this morning. I've got my tea this time, and we're going to talk about Stan Kroenke because I have seen thousands and thousands of people in the last couple of weeks talking about Stan Kroenke being a massive issue for Arsenal Football Club. So I thought I'd talk about it because I don't think like a lot of people. I don't follow the crowd. I don't follow the masses. I think for myself, and I thought I'd just give you my thoughts on it. I'll also take some questions, do 10-15 minutes worth of questions towards the end. Good afternoon to everybody in the chat. I feel a lot better than I did this morning, that's for sure. Still not 100% right though. But yeah, Stan Kroenke. A lot of people see. Let me start from the beginning rather than waffling. Let me start from the beginning. When you support a football team, okay, so I support Arsenal. Most of the people that support whatever clubs you support, most people will have some sort of knowledge of their football club, right? Some people have more knowledge than others, based on location, based on the length of time they've been alive, stuff like that, right? Other people are like an encyclopedia for their football club regardless. I'm not one of them, okay? I'm not one of them people that knows the ins and outs of every single thing Arsenal have ever done. What I do know is quite a lot about what Stan Kroenke has done since he's been here, how long he's been here, and how it was before Stan Kroenke was here. So for those that don't, just let me say what I'm going to say. I'll take some feedback on it, and then I'll answer some questions. Good afternoon, VP. But yeah, basically, when Arsenal had the plan to move from Highbury to the Emirates, from what I gather, that wasn't even Arsene Wenger's plan to do that. That was something that was already being discussed when George Graham was the manager. But Arsene Wenger obviously oversaw that plan. Now, Stan Kroenke wasn't even a part of Arsenal Football Club at the time. Nowhere to be seen. We move into the Emirates Stadium in 2006. Still nowhere to be seen, Stan Kroenke. 2007, by this stage, Chelsea have started to take a foothold in the league. They're starting to spend a hell of a lot of money under Roman Abramovich. And, all of our fans back then were like, well, we don't want a sugar daddy owner. We don't want that. We want to do it the classy way, the Arsenal way, which is the way that we've always done it. Spend within our means. That's how it's always been at Arsenal Football Club. So we didn't want a Roman Abramovich. So when Stanley Kroenke brought some shares from a few of the shareholders at the time, they sold out to him. Nina Bracewell-Smith being one of them. They sold their stake, they sold their shares to Stan Kroenke. Now, he ended up getting the full lot. He's got the whole lot now, 100% of Arsenal Football Club, right? Now, everyone's up in arms about that and saying, well, it's Stan's fault. He's spending all this money with the Rams. He's building a £2 billion stadium. He don't care about Arsenal. We need an Abramovich type owner that's going to throw money at it. Right, now rewind back to 2007. Nobody wanted that, right? Fast forward to the opening day of this season and the second day of the season, our fans were chanting at both games against Man City and Chelsea away, "You have brought it all, you have brought it all." So now our fans still don't want that, but then sit all over social media crying about Stan Kroenke. So what is it our fan base wants? Do they want a sugar daddy owner, or do they want what we have now? Because the way I see it, Stanley won't be going to Baku. No, he won't. He probably don't even know there's a game in Baku. But the way I see it is quite simple. Under FFP laws and rules, every single club has to adhere to them. Every single club, including Man City, every single team in the land has to adhere to financial fair play. We've seen teams that have folded because of not complying to financial fair play and being stung with points deductions, fines, etc., etc. I think Bolton's the prime example of that. Bolton are in a mess right now. In fact, I don't even know they still exist, right? But this is where I stand on Stan Kroenke and how I personally only hold him responsible for not sacking Gazidis and Wenger earlier, right? Stan Kroenke joined Arsenal in 2006, right? Now, we were all told from '06 all the way through to 2013 when we signed Mesut Ozil, right? We were told we had to sell our best players, we had to pay the stadium off, we had to recoup some money in to balance the books. Now, let me tell you this, right? For those of you that do not know, that Emirates Stadium is on a 25-year mortgage. I can't disagree with that, mate. I can't disagree with that, a blue whale. Stan Kroenke didn't buy Xhaka and Mustafi for £35 million apiece or give Ozil 350 and Mickey 200. Well said, Brent. Right, I'll come on to that in a minute, right? But when we moved to the Emirates in 2006, we were told we were going to compete with Europe's elite. For the next 7 years, we then sold our best players to our rivals, to Man United and other teams. Barcelona nicked half of our squad. Man City nicked a third of it, right? Now, anybody who doesn't know this, the Emirates Stadium is not paid off until 2031. It's on a 25-year mortgage, very similar to my mortgage on my house, right? I paid the deposit, I got the funds, and I pay a monthly payment back to the bank, which will pay off a load of interest and a percentage of the actual debt that I took on. Right? Now, that is exactly the same with the Emirates Stadium, right? So this myth that we had to sell our best players to balance the books, when the Emirates is actually only costing about £20 million a season to pay off until 2031. Yes, it may have been about £35–40 million a season back then, but our income very much outweighed our outgoings. So, you know, how we've got 200 odd million pounds sat in a bank account is because of that, because we've saved money over the years that is sat in a bank account, right? Now, people seem to be under the impression that that Stan Kroenke is just using the club to take money out of it. That is not the case, right? That is not the case. He has only taken, I say this as only because it is still a hell of a lot of money, right? He has only taken £6 million out of Arsenal Football Club since he has been our majority shareholder. 6 million. Our previous manager was taking 4 million more than that a season, right? It's a myth that he's taking money out to build the LA Rams Stadium. As a business owner, you will use your other businesses to leverage money, right? That's a fact. You can go to a bank and say, look, well, I've got Arsenal, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, and they will loan you money based on what you own, okay? Because if you don't pay it, they'll take them. They'll take the businesses, whatever, right? Now, people seem to think that Stan Kroenke could give us £500 million this summer, for example, right? Stan Kroenke could give us £500 million this summer. Guess what? We can't spend it. We can't spend it. So this idea that Stan Kroenke is the problem is so far from the truth, in my opinion. But yes, he is a problem. He is not the problem. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is, in terms of spending, is, like I said, he could, for example, January. Everyone knew our wage bill was maxed out under financial fair play, right? Every season, you can add to your wage bill 7%, okay, of your income. So another 7%. Thanks, Mark. Cheers for that, mate. Every season, you can add 7% to your wage bill, right? So as it stands, our wage bill is currently £240 million a year. £240 million a year, right? Now, 7% of that, my maths ain't great, but 10% is 24 million, so it's around the £20 million barrier. We can add £20 million onto our wage bill this summer. Yeah, that's how I see it, yeah? 20 million, right? £20 million, what does that buy you? That buys you a player that's on 200 grand a week for a whole season, times 2. So you can buy 200 grand a week footballers and add them to the wage bill this summer, right? That's not going to help our squad, is it? So we need more than that. So how do we do that? We can't add to it. So Stan Kroenke could go, there you go, there's £500 million. We can only add £20 million to our wage bill. So getting rid of players is got to be key this summer, because getting rid of some of the highest earners at this football club will free up the wage bill, which means we can go and invest more money in players for transfer fees. And we've seen that the transfer fees are not the issue at Arsenal Football Club, it's the wages. We signed Aubameyang for 60 million, we signed Lacazette, for 50 million. We gave Ozil 350 grand a week. All of this, by the way, whilst we're in Europa League, right? Europa League, which is less money than being in the Champions League. Now, like I said, Stan Kroenke is not the person that's going to come and go, oh, here you go, here's 500 million pounds. He ain't going to do that. And why would he do that? He has brought himself into a self-sustaining business model, which is what we was and what we still are. And the reason we moved from Highbury was to be self-sufficient and then try and compete with Europe's elite and not live beyond our means. This idea that, I'll give you an easier way to digest this, right? I go to work every day, yeah? If I go to work and I buy this house, which I'm sitting in now, which I am, I'm paying for a mortgage on this, right? But then I decide I want to go and get credit for this. I want to go and get credit for that. I want to go and buy a brand new sports car. I want to go on extravagant holidays. I want to get a bank loan to fund it all. Then all of a sudden, my outgoings are more than my incomings. What's going to happen to this house I'm sat in? The bank are going to go, yeah, you see that house? You've missed 3 payments now. We're taking that back. So this idea that, you know, we're going to suddenly go out and spend 300, 400, 500, even 200 million pounds in one transfer window, and Stan Kroenke is going to give us that. He don't need to give us that, because we earn our own money, our money from our Emirates deal, our Adidas deal this summer. Visit Rwanda sponsor us. You know, we've got so many sponsors at Arsenal Football Club. We are raking in over 470 million a year, right? Our wage bill is half of that. So, you know, then the 20 odd million pounds to pay the Emirates, then the upkeep of the stadium, etc., etc. You know, Arsenal have got money. The problem has been the neglect of the wage bill over the last 6 to 7 years. Since 2013, we have been paying bang average footballers like Shamak. Nicholas Bentner's a prime example. My man even put 52 on the back of his shirt because he was getting paid 52 grand a week. 52 grand a week for Nicholas Bentner. Seriously. Then you pay, you give Diaby a new contract. You give Cole Jenkinson a new contract. These players, Diaby, listen, he was a good footballer. Why give him a new contract when he's injury prone? When did the management start to decline? 2006, says Ventus. I don't think so. I think it was maybe a little bit later than that, to be honest with you. I think it was, you know, when you start splitting up that Invincible team, and we split that up pretty sharpish, to be fair. You know, letting Cesc Fabregas go, letting other players go like Van Persie. All of these things have added up, and over the course of maybe 7, 8 years, cheers, Nick, over the course of 6, 7, 8 years, all of these piss poor decisions and piss poor sales of players. You know, if Stan Kroenke was that desperate for money, he would have ripped Man City's arms off for £60 million, wouldn't he, for Alexis Sanchez? So, you know, it's very easy to listen to people who shout the loudest and go, oh, well, they're right. Yeah? Soon as we lose 2 or 3 games, oh, Stan, get your money out. Load of rubbish. Absolute load of rubbish, in my opinion. But it is only my opinion. You know, at the end of the day, Stan Kroenke didn't buy Mustafi and Xhaka like somebody said earlier. Yeah, he also didn't buy their put them on their wages of 90 grand a week each. He also didn't give Mesut Ozil 350 grand a week, a 200 grand pay rise or whatever it was. You know, for finishing 5th and 6th. Oh, here you go. Here's another 200 grand a week. He also didn't reject 60 million pounds for Alexis Sanchez and then give him away for Mkhitaryan. You know, all of these little things that have added up over the last 5, 6, 7 years have added up to the point where now Stan Kroenke, and I'm not trying to stick up for him, I'm just trying to make people see the other side of it, right? Everyone's now blaming everything on him. Well, it's not all on him. Because let's be real, he wasn't the majority shareholder for a lot of this, right? He obviously is now. And, you know, at the end of the day, he sent his son over to do a job. He sent Josh Kroenke over to look into the club, see what was going wrong with it. Yeah, see why we were slipping down the table, why the fans weren't turning up. And inside 3 months, he sacked Wenger. He sacked so many people behind the scenes that we don't even know worked for the club. You know, there was a lot of people that have been sacked, and then even Gazidis decides to leave because he's like, oh, shit. Thank you, Jake. Cheers, mate. And even Gazidis decided to leave because he was like, oh shit, this is now going to be on me. They've sacked Arsene, yeah? Whether you think he was sacked or not is irrelevant. He was sacked. He was told to leave. If you don't leave, we're going to pot you. Simple as that, right? Now, even Gazidis, the little snake that he is, sitting there on his £2 million salary every year, decides, oh, wow, yeah, I better get out of here because it's all going to be pinned on me otherwise. So why do you think he left? Yeah, he left because he knew he was going to get the flack for it, because Arsene Wenger, by a lot of people, cheers VP, a lot of people believe that Arsene Wenger is the messiah. He is the main man ever to have built Arsenal Football Club. That is not the case. Listen, he was a very good manager once. Very good manager once, back in the day. But he and Gazidis are to blame for why we're in a mess. So it doesn't matter how much Stan Kroenke wanted to give us this summer or in January, it is irrelevant. We need to work on getting people off the wage bill that are on ridiculous money before we can actually go and spend money. Now, like I said, the transfer fees ain't an issue because, number one, they're not paid up front. They're paid over the length of a contract. So Aubameyang's £60 million. That'll be paid over 4 years or 3 years, whatever his contract is. So we might have paid 25 million up front and then split the rest over 3 years. So we don't have to sit there with £200 million and go, oh yes, look, we need to go and spend 200 million and we're buying 4 players for £50 million. It don't work like that. You pay it off in stages over the length of a contract. You also pay the weekly wage. Like I even say, yeah, he gets paid X amount a week. It's not actually paid weekly, it's paid monthly. And they only get paid 10 months a year, I think, instead of 12. So it's really complex. But no, like I said, Stan Kroenke is at fault for keeping them two there for as long as he did, right? I don't blame him for buying into a self-sufficient business model, which is what he done, right? We've then piss poorly managed the money in that business model. So why does anybody seriously think he is then going to dip into his own pocket and spend his own money to fix a problem that was mismanaging the club's money? Come on, seriously, let's use a little bit of logic here, right? I'm not saying that he's the perfect owner because he ain't. If it was left to me, I'd have a Sheikh Mansour all day long. But I'm a realist. I know that Stan Kroenke don't care about Arsenal Football Club. I know he ain't going to dip into his pocket and go, I'll loan the club X amount of pounds. Stan Kroenke could get around financial fair play by building a car park somewhere, right? And Walmart sponsoring the car park. Do you know what I'm saying? For £300 million. You know, how do you think the Neymar deal went through for £200 million? The Qatari Tourist Board sponsored the deal. There you go, we'll sponsor the deal, but you have to be the face of the tourist board for the next 10 years or whatever it is to promote the World Cup. So Stan Kroenke could quite easily go and build a car park somewhere, yeah? Or Arsenal could go and build the car park somewhere. Nice one for that, Denzel. Cheers, mate. And go and build a car park somewhere and say, like, we're going to sponsor it. It's going to be sponsored by one of my other companies, which has nothing to do with Arsenal, or Walmart, whoever else he owns, Asda, whatever. And they're going to sponsor that for £300 million over 5 years. That £300 million gets drip-fed into Arsenal. We've then got a bigger budget coming in, which means we can add more to the wage bill. But he ain't going to do that. And the idea that he will do it is just, I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, I've been rambling on for nearly 20 minutes. There's over 500 people watching, so thank you very much. Only 86 likes, so please bang the like button. And whack some questions in. Give me your thoughts on what I just said about Kroenke. Because a lot of people, like I said, think that the stadium is paid off. It's not paid off. You know, it's £20 million a year to pay off every year until 2031. So a lot of people have been hoodwinked into believing that we have struggled for a decade because we are paying off the Emirates Stadium. That is not the case. Abjeet says, when do you see Arsenal really competing for a title? Next 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years from now. Is the £40 million budget true, says Josh. Josh, basically, mate, like I just said, yeah, £40 million. If I've got £40 million sat on my table right now, that gets me 2 £40 million players. That's how, you know, you could go and get 2 £40 million players for that. Yeah, over 4 years, you're paying out £10 million up front for 4 years. Yeah. So you could go and spend £20 million on two £40 million players on a 4-year contract and give them 100 grand a week. That's how easy it is. So the 40 million budget is just David Ornstein, the Arsenal puppet, chatting absolute crap. Because 5 months ago, he said we had over £100 million budget coming this summer. He ain't got a Scooby, mate. Anyone who listens to Ornstein needs to pinch themselves because he gets loads wrong. And like I said, he is just a puppet of the football club. He gets told what they want him to be told. I'd take Ruben Neves as well, mate. Baku cycle trip, anybody? Clinks 888. There you go. I've called you out, mate. Happy Friday. Callum Chambers back or sell, says Yellow Factor. I'd bin him, get rid, take 10 million and move on. Wasn't there a Nigerian guy that wanted to buy us, says Maurice. It's all hearsay, mate. That guy pops his head up out of the parapet every now and again and claims he's an Arsenal fan and he really wants to buy us. It's all about exposure, mate. When you're a multi-billionaire, it's just all about exposure and power, mate. They don't give a toss about the football club. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ain't even an Arsenal fan. How do you feel about Sanchez going to Inter Milan? Good luck to him, because he's had an absolute mare at United. Best performance he's had is playing the piano on day one, wasn't it? Chilean Alicia Keys. In what positions do Arsenal need to improve, says Mwais. I hope I pronounced your name right. Defence, definitely centre-backs. I think we need a proper box-to-box midfielder. Maybe a Decore, someone like that. And I think we need two wingers, two proper wingers. Afternoon, Chig. I'll take it you're not going to Baku then. Should we put all of our money into Delict? No. I'll tell you why. Because he looked out of his depth when Llorente came on against him the other day. He's good when he's got players running at him. He's a good tackler of the ball. He's very physical. Great walking out of defence with the ball. But as soon as you throw on a Giroud, a Llorente and Andy Carroll, nah, ain't worth £80 million for me, mate. Good player, though. So I'm not knocking him. I'm not saying I wouldn't have him, but I wouldn't throw all that money at him. No chance. Arsenal need Harry Maguire, says American Boy. I would take Harry Maguire happily. Who do you think we should keep, Ospina or Martinez as backup, says Jaroslaw. I'd keep neither. I'd get rid of him and get Butland as a backup. Alex says, Holding is our future. I agree with that. He's a good player. Can we afford Ziyech? Yes, I think we can. I think he's leaving as well. I see something just before I came on this that he's come out and said that he's going to be leaving Ajax. So if that's the case, the fire sale at Ajax is starting. A bit like the Monaco one a few months or years back. Thanks for that, Wavy. We have 40 million. We don't. We have probably about 400 million, mate. We're just listening to David Ornstein chatting crap. Mahrez I would take all day long. Damari Gray or nah, says Arsenal fan 13. Nah, not good enough, mate. It's not really an upgrade on a Iwobi, is it? Let's be real. Declan Rice says Oliver four-way. Yes, I would take him. That would not be cheap, though, to be honest with you. But get rid of Xhaka and put him straight in. Lee, can I play? Nah, man, my back's more battered than Mesut Ozil's. Got osteoarthritis in 2 of my discs. So, yeah, some days I struggle to even get out of bed. Who are the possibilities for centre-back? That's a good question, that is. I'll come back onto that in a minute. Thierry Mainrick, sorry, I hope I've pronounced that right, mate. Afternoon, Lee. Just on your views, what's what's your favourite Arsenal season? Whatever, my favourite Arsenal season. That's a bloody good question. It's been a few, man. Favourite Arsenal season? I'd have to say the Invincibles, mate. I'd have to say the Invincibles purely for the fact that it will never be done again. Jake Martin, how should Nelson be used next season? I'd start him from the start of the season, bang him straight in, give him a run of 10 games and see how he does. That's what I'd do. If he's cutting it and he's doing all right, keep him in there. If he ain't, loan him out in January. But that's what I would do. Higg says, I'll probably ask you this Sunday, but what do you think about the Water links? Is that Argentine centre-back? Yeah, I think it is that guy, isn't it? To be honest with you, from what I've read, I must admit I don't know anything about the guy until I read into it the other day. Yeah, from what I read, from all the comments on a tweet somebody posted, was that he's rash. He's a red card waiting to happen. He's not young either. I think he's like 29, is he? 28, 29. He's only just broken into the Argentine squad. Not for me, mate. Not good enough. 13 million quid, yeah, it might be cheap, but nah, not good enough. Koulibaly or Van Dijk, says Mikhail. Van Dijk all day long, mate. 28th February. Santosh says, would you take Donny van der Beek for 50 million? Mate, I'll take him for 80 million. That is a proper player. And that would be a proper player for the next decade, because although De Ligt is younger, I don't think De Ligt is as good as him right now. De Ligt is a good centre-back, but that Donny van der Beek, he is an absolute baller. He could literally walk into any team in the world right now and be a star for the next 10 years. Whereas I think that De Ligt is a very good player, but I think he's got some massive flaws in his game. Van der Beek is average. No chance, mate. No chance. Stan is the only problem. I don't agree. I've just gone through that for 20 minutes anyway, but the problem with Stan is he never sacked Wenger and Gazidis early enough. Bring Gus Caesar back to replace Bolt. I'd take Gus Caesar over Mustafi, mate, if I'm being completely honest. What do you think about Kieran Tierney, says Arjun? I'd take him in a heartbeat, mate. Do you still want Martinez as Czech's replacement? No, I'd get rid of him. I'd take Jack Butland, get rid of him and Ospina, get Jack Butland, stick him in as number 2. Let's all not forget it, yeah? He was a Premier League goalkeeper until last season. And I know he hasn't covered himself in glory this season, but he's too good for the Championship. Eric Bay, yes, I would take him, James. Zaha or Fraser, says Philip. Fraser, I can't stand Zaha. He is just a show pony. And he is not worth 80 million quid, that is for sure. Especially when Ronaldo went for the same last summer. Aubameyang and Laka wages going up. Is that an issue for our financial fair play, says Ventus. No, I'll tell you why. Because Czech's leaving or retiring, Aaron Ramsey's going, Danny Welbeck's going, so that's 300 grand a week off the wage bill. So we could actually give Aubameyang and Lacazette 150 grand a week each, more than they're currently on, and it still wouldn't be a problem. Not that we're going to do that though. Santi Cazorla is called up for the Spanish squad, says Callum Wilson. That's not the Callum Wilson from Bournemouth, is it? Yeah, I'll see that. He's actually had a really good season, isn't he? And fair play to him. Good luck to him, man. I loved watching Santi when he played for us. Proper footballer. Proper midfielder, man. Best away day, says Denzel. That is a brilliant question. Don't know, man. Newcastle's probably my favourite. Yeah, I'd say Newcastle. Newcastle's banging, man. Wicked night out. Wicked night out. The only downside to Newcastle is you're right up in the upper tier. But Crystal Palace is a good away day. That's a good one. That's a nice little stadium and you're close to the pitch. So, yeah, Crystal Palace is a good one. But in terms of a whole weekend game and night out, I'd say definitely Newcastle. Any pre-match superstitions? Yeah, pray to God Mustafi ain't playing. Right, I'm going to do a couple more minutes. Now I'm going to go get myself off and go and cook some dinner for the wifey. She's on her way home from work. Best player in Arsenal in home games and away. Whatever, or this season, mate? Do I watch any other sports? Says Darren Shires. Not really, nah. The other sports bore me, man. I don't mind a bit of darts, but could you call that a sport? I don't think that's really even a sport, man. Although it does take some technique and skill, I'll give you that. But yeah, I don't really... I used to play golf, but my back's battered, man. Seriously, I can't even swing a golf club anymore. Darts is a sport. I know, I was on a wind-up, man. What is my day job? I harass people for double glazing. Master Chef. Yes, I am. I'm going to be cooking a lovely lamb curry this evening. Right, let's do until 35 minutes. You've got 3 minutes to answer me some more questions. Do you think we should have signed Santi for another year, says Duncan Woodhouse? No, to be honest. As much as I liked him, sentiment has held this club back for a long time, mate. And let's be real, I don't think anyone really knew that he was going to go on and have the season he's had. So, you know, it's all good after the event happens. But, you know, he could have stayed in the Premier League and not recovered properly. So, fair play to him, though. And his unveiling for them was mad as well. Did anyone see it? Yeah, it was absolutely mad. Stephen, thank you for that, mate. Why didn't we go for Sancho last summer? Well, I almost signed him once. I don't know, mate. Genuinely no idea. Imagine putting a team together of all the players we nearly signed. It'd be the best team in the world. I don't clean windows, mate. I sell double glazing. Because we're cheap. We're not. That's the problem. We're not cheap. Is Serge Gnabry a regret for you? No, he's not. I'll tell you why. Because not one Arsenal fan was begging for him to stay. And then Tony Pulis absolutely ruined him at West Brom. And nobody, again, similar to Santi, nobody could have envisaged what he would have gone on to do. So no, not really. It's just a shame that there's been a few like that over the years that have, you know, Chuba Akpom as well. That's another one. He's just won a title. Scored the winning overhead kick in the cup final as well. So, you know, he could have been a good player. Gnabry always was a baller. I agree with that, man. But, you know, you'd have to ask the previous manager why he didn't play him. Suso from Milan. Nah, not convinced by him. Didn't he used to play for Liverpool? Although that was probably a bit of a big move too soon for him. He's a good player though, but I don't want him at Arsenal. We didn't need Gnabry, we had Theo. That's a very good point. What was my first ever game? No, good question, man, says AB. My first ever game, you're going to laugh at this. Please smash the like button as well. There's not even 200 likes. There's nearly 600 people watching. My first ever game, Tottenham fans will love this if they're watching this, right, was in 1990. It was Graham Rix's testimonial. Anybody who doesn't know Graham Rix, don't Google him because it'll come up with all sorts of naughty stuff. But yeah, he was an Arsenal player. It was his testimonial, and it was October 1990, and I think I was 7. Yeah, 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. And yeah, I was sat in Highbury and we played Tottenham and we lost 5-2. Funny how things change over the years though, isn't it? But yeah, that was my first ever game. 5-2 loss against Tottenham. Graham Rix's testimonial. I will be at the LA game with a Kroenke out banner. Quality, man. I see something about this this trip to Baku, right? Somebody tweeted saying that the 6,000 that go out there should all wear Mkhitaryan masks. Will you be doing podcasts on this channel? Yes, I will, just not yet, mate. That will be, well, a little bit later down the road. But yeah, it is something I've thought about doing, and the way I want to do it is going to be completely different to how other people do it. And that's not having a dig at other people. I just want to do it slightly differently. So I'm waiting until the channel gets a lot bigger before I start doing that. Rix went to pick up his girlfriend from school after that game. Oh, shit. Freddie or Santi, who was best? Oh, mate. That's a good question. I'd have to go with Freddie, man. But it's close. Because Santi was more technically gifted by a mile. But Freddie was brilliant. He always scored against United as well. How much money do you think Unai will get? I think we'll spend over £100 million, to be honest with you. Adam Johnson to Arsenal. You lot are crazy. Is my missus an Arsenal fan? No, she hates football. How is my day? Thank you, mate. It's not too bad, actually. I feel a bit better than I did this morning. But I now need to get myself off and go and cook the missus some dinner. And then I need to record a video for tonight at 9 o'clock. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be part 5, the final part of my season review. Andy, thank you very much for that, my friend. And yeah, smack a thumbs up on the video and subscribe if you're new. I will be back at 9 o'clock with my season review last part.